What's up, guys? MetalThrashingBuddy Show, episode 32. 32 episodes. Can you believe it? Man, it seems just like yesterday. And just like the theme of today. Here's what I've learned so far in 3 years of sobriety. Which is crazy. I know this isn't like necessarily going to be a music-heavy show, and I do have a big music-heavy episode planned for another solo episode, and I do have some potential guests I'm trying to work some scheduling up with. But anyway, for today's episode, man, yesterday I celebrated 3 years of sobriety, which is crazy. For I don't know, the background of anyone that might want to know, I did weed every now and then, casually. I tried mushrooms a couple of times, but I was a real heavy drinker. I know I've talked about this before on the pod. Yeah, I was a real heavy drinker, and it was negatively impacting my life, negatively impacting my productivity. It was just negative for me in every way possible. It was negative on my mental health super bad. I felt like no motivation. I felt like, even like, I don't know, just for example, I had initially gotten what would be my initial home studio setup about like before COVID. I think like a year before COVID. I think that thing sat in a box, my interface and microphone and everything. I think it sat in a box for about a year until I ever opened it and read a single thing about music production or watched a single thing about music production, which is wild. And like, again, you don't really want to learn new skills when you can just like pound beers all day, which is perfectly like fine and socially acceptable in a lot of ways, but it just wasn't good for me, man. All I wanted to do was drink. All I wanted to do was just sit and drink, and like I would play guitar while I did it or play video games while I did it, but that was about to the like extent of it. And yeah, this episode is just like here's what I've learned in 3 years of sobriety so far, in what will be a lifetime of sobriety, and what I consider to be relatively easy now to a certain extent. But with that being said, it's not like there's never struggles with it, but it's a different kind of struggle. It's not like I ever want to drink. It's not like I ever want to not be sober. It's more like this is a frustrating situation, if that makes sense. But I'm here to talk all about it today. Really quick, I want to shout out my band Dark Harbor is playing Cold Bloom Fest 2 at El Corazon in Seattle. You can get your tickets in advance. You can go to Dark Harbor Wah on Instagram. We have the link in our link tree there. You can go probably find the ticket link on any of the band's pages that are playing. As Dark Harbor, Gouged, Ground Feeder, Pine Box, Dark Watch, What's Wrong. You can hit one of those great bands up. They'll get you some tickets too. Hit us up. We'll point you in the right direction. You can just show up to Elko and get them the day of. So that is Saturday, July 1st at El Corazon. Doors open at 6. Bands start at 6:30. So anyway, into this episode. 3 years, celebrating 3 years. That's over 1,000 days. And it felt amazing to say today, or yesterday. Sorry, I'm recording this, obviously, on June 19th. It'll come out the 20th. So yeah, when I said like I celebrated 3 years yesterday, if you're listening to it on Tuesday, yeah, duh. Anyway, I'm tired, I'm stupid, but yeah, it felt really good to share that, but it also is just so par for the course, and my life in general, just a part of me that it's kind of just another day, but with a like heightened sense of pride, if that makes sense. I think that anyone who's been sober in any capacity or chose sobriety for their life can attest to that. Like, it is just who you are. And I think I had talked about this before on the podcast, I know, but one thing that made the decision so easy was, even though I had a like pattern of drinking so heavily, and I talked about when I had quit drinking, I was just drinking on the weekends, but I was just, having drinks all weekend, and just like a lot on the weekends, man. It was unhealthy. It was just weird. But crazy thing is too about it is that it all still seems like yesterday. And I had a friend message me and say, like, congrats on your 3 years. And I was like, thanks so much, man. And I was like, like, the shittiest part about it all is that it still, to a certain extent, just seems like yesterday that like I was drinking. And now I'm so many years removed, 3 years removed from that, and like I said, it is just kind of like, to an extent, like another day, because one of the easiest decisions or ways for me to wrap my head around it and make it easy was just that you don't do that anymore. And that was like, as soon as I decided that, it was kind of like this pact with myself that was like, okay, I've got to figure it out, because I don't do that anymore. That's not an option. There's no more like, I'm super stoked about something, time to celebrate, let's drink. Or I'm super sad about something, time to like feel sorry for myself and drink. There's no more of that. And that was a really easy thing to do, or easy way to eliminate it, I guess. And I've, had some family trauma with alcohol addiction lately. And I'm not going to get into that. I don't really want to get into that, if you can understand, obviously, but just, I wish that I had better advice in that aspect, because I think from my background in sports and from a lot of great coaches that I had throughout my life, that just like being disciplined is super easy to me, which is funny because like it's very clear to me that I have like such an addictive personality, and I've talked about that before, that whether it's energy drinks or nicotine or like anything, playing guitar, doing this podcast, making YouTube videos, I will straight up become hooked on it. It could be work, whatever, like whenever I'm excelling in work, I fuel off of like successes. And I think that, just any kind of habit is super addictive, like to me, like routine and just feeling good is addictive to me, which sounds stupid. Like, yeah, feeling good is like addicting to everybody, right? You'd think, but everyone's so different that it's so easy for some people to just totally not like dive off the deep end into things, which is a super interesting thing as well. And I've always found it interesting. I had mentioned before on previous episodes that I always thought that people that were super creative had like more addictive personalities, because in order to create good art and refine a craft, or again, a discipline like playing guitar or singing or doing painting, whatever it is, like it requires you to like enjoy that high so much that you're constantly chasing that kind of thing. And yeah, like I said, it's just it's a family thing. In my family, I know that no one in my family has done well with alcohol, let alone any substance, thank goodness. no one in my family, including myself, has been into anything else. But just, man, alcohol, for how socially acceptable it is, can just like take you to weird places, dude, and make you not yourself, if that makes sense. Like, you just like get stoked about drinking alcohol, and that was weird, like, to me, and it just wasn't good for me. Anyway, like, enough really about me and I guess how I felt about it, but I've talked a lot about it on previous episodes. It's just, man, it's such a weird thing to look back and think about now that, I had just so much excitement for being drunk as I did. Like, just sitting on the couch at home and being drunk and playing, Madden or playing guitar, as I do now for entrepreneurial things like creating content, doing this podcast, being in my band. Like, one of the first things I did, and we can dive into this right now as far as the theme of the episode being what I've learned in 3 years in so far, is the first thing I did was I got like insanely better at guitar, and I got insanely better at music production. And I talked about that in, I'm going to say this a lot. I've talked about a lot of this in other episodes, but it's nice to come revisit it, because I think it's important to other people that are going through this, that they or you have someone on a platform that understands you, someone that you can talk to. All of my DMs are open, comment sections are open. And now that I'm filming these for YouTube, throw in the comments. Like, if you've ever been through something like, sobriety or addiction or something, an unhealthy relationship with something, feel free to talk to me about it, man. It is way okay with me. MetalThrashingBuddy on Instagram. You can DM me there. You can throw it in the YouTube comments. I'm an open inbox for anyone that's going through this kind of thing. And like I said, I feel very fortunate that my situation was that I could just tell myself, like, you're just not allowed to do that anymore because you've tried to make it work and you just become kind of dysfunctional, man. And, you need to set those boundaries with yourself when it comes to toxic relationships. And whether that be with a person or it be with a substance or anything, even just an activity. Maybe you have an unhealthy relationship with building Legos. It's possible I could be that person if I spent enough time doing it. But anyway, like, what, talking about getting insanely good at guitar and like insanely better at guitar, not insanely good. I'm sure there are a lot of people that are about to be like, oh my God, you're not the best guitar player in the world. It's like, okay, chill. But I got insanely better. And I learned everything that I was putting off with music production and all that. And, I think, like, most importantly, I think this goes without saying, I've brought this up before, but I wouldn't be a, like, active and energetic and, like, great dad if I had continued to do it. I would just kind of exist. And knowing myself, I'd have all the love in the world like I do for my son, but I wouldn't be as proactive as I am. And, like, that was the whole driving force behind my sobriety, actually, was finding out that I was going to become a dad. And happy belated Father's Day to all you metal dads out there. Love you guys. Keep doing the thing. All you fathers play an important role in the lives of kids, man. And it's important for you to be there and be proactive and be a great role model, because I never wanted my son to ever just feel like depressed or lost and just feel that alcohol or substances were like the correct answer. And, like, thank God he's never going to see that from me. And I've been, people have made the argument that, like, oh, you can't shelter him from that forever. And it's like, my job isn't to shelter him from that in general. What I wanted to do was break a generational family, like, I don't know, irritating thing that it was just that, like, drinking alcohol every day is normal. This is what you do after work. You work and then you drink alcohol and you go to bed. And then you don't really get anything else done. That's kind of it. You just exist. And I'm not here to bash that lifestyle. Some people do that and like are healthy and like literally have 2 beers. But, you know, like just drinking alcohol until you fall asleep, like that shit's not good for you. And it's not a good model for your kids, man. And it was never a good model for me. And just like I'd been around it so much my entire life that was just, to me, like that's just what you did when you were older and of age and could do it. And fuck that. No, it's not. Like I work a day job. I did an episode you can check out for the YouTube people who haven't followed on the streaming platforms. I did an episode on day jobs and being in a band. And it's, you know, it's a lot like, I talked a lot about how you need to be proactive after work and do a lot of extra work. And it's frustrating and it's exciting, but like you realize that putting in that effort and that energy is so worth it. But anyway, check that one out if you haven't checked it out yet. But back to the sober talk, like, yeah, just this weird, I don't know, like these weird teachings. I'm missing the words for it, but these teachings that just you just drink after work and you fall asleep and that's it. Or, you know, you drink all weekend or you drink while you're doing any activity. Like, you don't need that. You don't need to spend that money. You don't need to be in that headspace. Like, I would argue that everything I do better and have more fun doing because I'm sober. And that's just me personally. I'm not here to steer you in the direct, like to be like, everyone has a problem and everyone shouldn't do alcohol. I think that if you have a problem with alcohol, you fucking shouldn't. Period. Like, you need to, like I said, just be like, you can't do that shit anymore. I like looked at it more so in an approach of like finding out you're allergic or you're you have a bad reaction to a food you really enjoy. You know, I'm getting older. I'm gonna be 30 in October, man. Like, my body doesn't do great with heavy dairies like ice cream, man. So yeah, I unfortunately have that fucking heavy dairy sometimes, but like it's just not that often. And like I'm kind of at the point now to where I'm like, I just need to cut that shit out. I can't have that anymore. And if you look at like alcohol that way, then it's kind of easy. That's what I did, was just like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Like, it's not good for me personally. So let's figure this out. And I also took advantage of, not a sponsor of the pod, but the Sober app, which is awesome. Not only is it a tracker, but there's like a social media aspect like Facebook, where you see the posts of people that are sober from the same thing you are on the same day in the same time frame. And it's a really great place to connect. There's a journaling section. There's like daily devotionals. And I think that's the right term, right? And you pledge in the app every morning that you're going to be sober that day. You journal about it at night. And I can't fucking thank that app enough and the people who created it for creating that space where people can be sober together but do it separately. And I know I mentioned this before once again, but that was really helpful during like COVID when all of this was happening to me, because like I could just drink every day. I didn't have to go to work. Like, it was awesome to me, and I was getting paid to just like drink and play video games. And that's what led me down like such a bad habit of it, and what made it so unhealthy. Yeah, again, today it feels fucking amazing to be 3 years sober. I'm sitting here doing a podcast, having my coffee, and it just seems like, man, like, how could that have ever been possible if I didn't do this? And the truth is, it wouldn't be. I wouldn't be sitting here doing this if I continued drinking, man. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe I'd be working some weird night shift job or something. I don't know. Maybe I would be playing guitar along to a track and just chugging beers, like, completely alone, man. And that shit scares me. I think about that all the time. And there's nothing wrong with that, dude, if that is, like, healthy for you. But if that shit is not good for you and it stops you from achieving greater things, I think, reevaluate it. But to each their own. Like I said, I'm not here to play judge and jury. I am here to just advocate for, if you have a problem or think you have a problem. I did, and I am in recovery, and life is fucking great. I am an advocate of recovery, and I don't want anyone to feel like the social pressures from their peers or their family make it impossible, because there are resources. The Sober app, there's AA. There are plenty of places where you can go talk to people that are in the same situation as you. And I'd talked about this before, but surrounding yourself around people going through the same thing as you, like on this app and in person and stuff, I'd shut out a lot of people for quite a while that I knew just they didn't have drinking problems. So I couldn't be like, oh, you can't drink around me. All of my friends, I love you guys, thank you, were very respectful in that, like, we don't want to have him around if we're going to, like, drink, because we don't want to be disrespectful. We don't want to be, like, triggering. But you guys are great. I love you guys so much. Thank you. That was really helpful. And I think everyone understood too when I was like, reached out to the people I did, and I was like, hey, I'm getting sober, so you're not going to see as much of me until I am, like, okay with being sober. And I'd brought up to, like, people that I've ran into and haven't seen in a long time, and maybe they followed the podcast, followed, like, my socials, have been like, are you still sober? I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to be sober forever, man. Like, it is not a problem for me. And, like, at this point, it's not that it never was, like, tough, and it's not like there aren't, issues still, but it was that I, like, sorry, I'm trying to collect my thoughts. The first 6 months to a year maybe were really tough still, and like, that's something to expect if you're going into it and not sure of what to expect. First 6 months to a year were really tough, and I had to avoid a lot of things. I had to avoid, like, going out to eat a lot, even at a lot of places, because you get so used to your routine, man. Like I said, if you're a disciplined person that disciplines themselves into routines, they're like, I go to this restaurant, I get this drink, I get this drink at that place. I get, like, and it's so funny, I guess something that I've noticed 3 years in and learned 3 years in is that replacement is a huge thing. And you don't want to replace your, quote, drug of choice with another, like, negative thing. But there are lesser of two evils, I think. So it's a funny story. Like, I've talked about this with friends, and not necessarily on the pod, I don't think, ever. I, like, ballooned up when I got sober from, like, sitting around typically, like, 260 to weighing, like, almost 320 at one point. And now I'm always about, well, depending on how shitty I decide to eat or not, my weight fluctuates like crazy. And one of the things I did replace it with now is just, like, working out very strictly. And I have mentioned that before, I think, but, yeah, I sit around like 240 to 250 if I'm casually eating a lot. And, yeah, it's crazy. I ballooned up to like 320 because I didn't know what to do. Like the trope of, like, I don't know what to do with my hands. And I was like, I didn't know what to do with my hands, man. I didn't know what to replace it with. So I replaced it with just, like, really satisfying things, which is, like I said, lesser of two evils situation. I think the healthier option is to replace that with like really good food and really good like soda, stuff like that. I've talked about heavily about liquid death, which is just water. That's like your healthiest option there. But man, liquid death saved me in so many social situations. But looking at it now, like I replaced it with food, and that was getting extremely like unhealthy too. And then I knew that I was sober enough to be able to like reevaluate my diet, get back into exercise heavily, and take care of myself. And I think that was like a really good process for me to just like let go of your other restrictions that you had and just kind of be free, but be free of this really bad substance and just let yourself indulge in the like quote good things. Not, that like terrible food is good for you. Obviously it's not, but if it's between that and, like abusing alcohol or like, having too much to drink every day, like, man, go ahead and eat them cheeseburgers. Eat them like they're going out of style, man. Yeah, it's funny now, yeah, because looking back on it, there's some funny things that I have kept near and dear to me as a funny habits from being sober is that I've been working lately and talked about it that I've been working lately on trying to balance my life out more. And I think that over the past 3 years, I've learned that balance is very hard because I put a lot of energy and focus into doing a lot of things after I got sober, like podcasting and content creating and music and music production, and just like, let me learn all these things, bang, 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 until I'm just like, man, I can't ever just chill. I can't just sit and enjoy things like I used to, kind of, because I've made it seem to myself in my brain that I always have to constantly be like achieving something. Like I wasted all this time just being laid back and lazy, and like there's a balance there that you've got to find. And, the workaholic option isn't always the best or healthiest, but again, lesser of two evils. Excuse me while I drink this very bitter coffee out of my Death Star mug. But yeah, again, coffee's a great help. Man, that anything that fixes this I don't know what to do with my hands situation is it's healthier. It's healthier. And even if that means, putting all your time into a hobby or something, I guess my point with the food and the exercise thing is let it go. Go all out on it. You will recover from that and figure that out much easier than you will from something that is like made to make you like addicted to it. Something that I've held on to and like I've joked about is my religion is kind of like the Diet Coke people out there. I've like obsessively drank Pepsi Zero Sugar, which is real weird, man. It's not Pepsi in general. It is Pepsi Zero Sugar. And shout out Pepsi, I guess, because, dude, there was like, when you get in that weird cycle of always wanting a cold beer afterward, and you're making this decision to be sober for life, and it's not just this like, I'm going to try sobriety, or I need to get sober. It's just that like, I'm sober now. Like I said, you find these alternatives, dude, and the biggest key, I guess, is to keep trying alternatives and don't be like nothing's ever going to work, because you're going to find one that's going to hit. Mine happened to be Pepsi Zero Sugar. It used to be called Pepsi Max, if you didn't know that. Funny thing, yeah, I buy that stuff by the big brick every once in a while, and I proudly go my like weeks without it and just like meh. But dude, nothing hits like that cold Pepsi Max at dinner, and it is like my favorite thing. Like it just like came in and just replaced that like beer and food thing that I used to do, and just like so seamlessly. It's so funny. I just opened my fridge earlier, and it made me think about like I need to bring this up on the pod because 2 drawers are filled with Pepsi Zero Sugar pretty much at all times, because it's just like I said, go to the fridge, grab a can of something and open it. That could be anything. It could be liquid death water. It could be like an energy drink, a soda, a seltzer. People love to use like LaCroix as a replacement, and it works for a lot of good friends of mine. Have been on LaCroix team. I think that LaCroix tastes like TV static that was near a fruit, but to each their own. Some people really dig it, and if it helps you get where you need to go in sobriety, Team LaCroix, baby. But yeah, that's a funny observation to me in sobriety, is just the Pepsi Zero Sugar, man. Another thing I learned, and this is probably the most important of this whole episode here, is that you're taking your emotions at face value for the first time ever. And like there was a period of time, especially in that first year, even the first 2 years, that I was like, man, am I like an angry person now because I got sober? Or do I have a shorter fuse? Have I always had a short fuse? And it's not that. It's just that takes time. And because you just were so used to just being like, well, fuck it, I don't have to get mad, man. I can just have a drink. Let's just drink about it. You don't have to get mad about it. You can just drink about it. And when you can't do that, like, it's frustrating at first, man. Like, that's completely logical. But time goes by, and now I think I'm finally just kind of now getting to a point to where I am just like extremely patient. And that comes with, I think learning how to deal with your emotions head on. But yeah, that's a learning curve, because it's not in a way that's extreme. It's just like I noticed myself just having such a short fuse about like frustrating things or even inconveniences. And I like every single time I was like, dude, damn sobriety, man. In a good way, in a like, I'm learning so much right now kind of way. But like, yeah, I was like, dude, damn it. Like, this is taking the bull by the horns and living the damn life and facing everything head on. And yeah, that is something now I feel like at my calmest. And I think you do come out on the other side more calm and collected and cool-headed than you've ever been in your entire life. But man, that doesn't come easy. That doesn't come without, like just like emotional kind of outbursts in handling that at first. And now, man, like I am as cool as a cucumber. I'm very thoughtful. As my bandmates have said, like I don't really say anything without like very logically thinking about what I'm going to say. But yeah, man, just internally upset, internally frustrated. And that's okay, man. It's okay to be frustrated, and it's okay to be even borderline pissed and just like need to go on a walk or need to work out or something. And that's like, I think something where like a lot of people in sobriety and recovery turn to exercise, because it's just like, dude, you've got to get that out somewhere. And where you used to be able to just numb it with alcohol, you need to like physically get it out. And so, like, thank God you can do that through like running or weightlifting or whatever your workout of choice is. Yeah, let that consume you. That's healthy. Even, if for the first bit, that's just eating good food, man, and you need a candy bar every time you get upset, that's okay. You can work that out much easier than you can work out, a substance that's, purposefully addictive. And, yeah, like I said, it's just such a cool thing to reflect on these changes and this growth. I talked about I guess like some struggles have been just that, like, even when you're deep into sobriety like I am, and this is just my life now, and I have my 3-year sober anniversary, and I don't think anything differently about the day or anything, or, I don't have this limit on it. And I think that's the key to sobriety, is just knowing that it's like, there's not a limit on it. You just do this now. And when I talked about, like, it was easy for me to just be like, I don't do this anymore, it's because in previous times that I had failed, I was like, let's try this for a little bit, and then you'll be better and you'll be able to enjoy those beverages and stuff. Now you'll be able to drink booze, like, be able to have a couple beers, and, but the truth be told, man, is that, that really, sobriety, and while it gets easier, is that there are places just that you'll go that are just designed to drink. I went to like Top Golf recently, and it was that, like, drinking is just like what you're supposed to do there, and you're supposed to just drink and golf, and it's not really set up for sober people. Even though, like, I had a good time, it was just kind of a bummer. And it was just that, like, man, you know what? Like, this is a place for people to let loose and drink and have a really good time. And now that I don't do that stuff, it is just it was a weird situation for me, man, honestly. You might hear my son banging on the door, but he always wants to be on the pod and involved in the podcast, and that is A-okay with me. I ain't cutting it. I know there's a dog that whines, kiddos, that's real life. I do the podcast out of my home, so yeah. Anyway, yeah, Top Golf was weird because that place is like designed to be like the most appealing place to drink and do just like a drinking activity, and that was weird. It was really easy for me to go like golfing on a golf course, and I don't know, man, just I never wanted to drink like I did that day at Top Golf, because I was like, shit, this is what this is set up for, really. And shout out to the staff at Top Golf. Got me my water, got me my Sprite, got me my good food, kick-ass food at that place. And I had a great time, and like I said, I let the competition of golf consume me, and loved the hell out of it and just got really into that. And then before I knew it, I wasn't thinking about that. But it's weird to walk into a place with like 2 enormous like bars on like each level, and just like table games and golf. It's pretty much just like one enormous bar and like the coolest bar you've ever been to, and you don't drink. It's like, shit, I definitely don't recommend going there if you're like 6 months sober. Like, that is not a place for, I guess, like you to not drink. But I'm not bashing Top Golf and the company or anything, but just saying, like, that is a fun place for people who partake in alcohol to partake in alcohol. And if you don't, they have tons of options for you and super good food, and it's super fun day. But it was just tough. And even when I went and saw a buddy's band at a bar, and that was quite a while ago, and I don't even think I was 2 years sober yet. I might have been, but that was tough too. That was like I wasn't 2 years sober yet. That was a tough time too, and I thought that like I had it completely kicked. And like I said, I leaned into another substitute, went and got Red Bull with lime until like I was like, man, I can't have any more caffeine today. But got like a mocktail. You get like soda and the lime and something that's fun and not boring and not just like a glass of water, and then watched a band and just got into the music and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to be not open about just like struggles still. There's still times and places that's like, man, this place is a place that is catered to people who drink alcohol, and like maybe that's a place that I shouldn't be all the time. And that's fine, dude. And you know what? In a way, exposure therapy to yourself too. Like, You've got to put yourself in situations that test you so you know how to handle it, and know how to be a big boy and fucking not drink and be yourself and like genuinely yourself and who you are in your sobriety. And yeah, you're only going to get that by going out and doing things as a sober person. And even something that I thought would be super hard was just like travel, because like I would always, go to a new city, and it's super easy to just go somewhere and enjoy the bars, because you know that bars are going to, like, either way you're going to get a cocktail. You're going to try like new beer, maybe that's local to the area. But man, traveling's so much better because I get so much more shit done. And it's so funny, like I wouldn't have the slightest problem going to Las Vegas because there's so much shit to do in Las Vegas. I go anywhere now and I'm instantly like have this crazy itinerary because there's so much stuff to do when you travel that I really think that you just kind of like waste, because you can get the same joy out of just like sitting in a bar. And I feel guilty in a way, being like, oh, you waste time drinking alcohol, because I don't want anyone to think that I'm just like, oh yeah, don't drink because it's a waste of time. But like for me, it certainly was. And for a lot of people, it certainly is. And it isn't good for a lot of people. And dude, if you're anything like me, doing things without alcohol is going to get you to live so many more experiences and in a clear mind, remember every second of it. And like, that's the true gift. And if I have any like final like send off words about this episode that is just like absolutely wonderful, is just that the past 3 years of my life I've cherished every second. And although it's odd to me that it still seems just like yesterday that I drank, like, it's been 3 years. It's been over 1,000 days, like I told my buddy. And even though it seems like yesterday, that's a lot of wonderful family memories that I have. And it's not clouded by anything. It's not like zero hangovers. I haven't had a hangover in 3 fucking years. Fuck hangovers, dude. Even if you say you have a hangover cure, dude, you know how fucking sick it is to wake up on a Sunday morning and just go do everything you've wanted to do because you don't feel like shit. Granted, it's not like I don't ever feel like shit. Of course I do. Earlier this year on the podcast, when I was like sick for like what seemed like months, just would be like sick, not sick for a week and then sick again. It's just crazy to think about, like, no hangovers in the past 3 years. Just all the things that I've set, all the goals I've set, all the things I've done and accomplished, all of the wins I've had outweigh all of the struggles, literally like 100-2, which is insane. Like I said, like going out with friends and just being like, man, this is a place that's probably fun to drink at, like, is such a minor like problem to me, like even like at the hardest mental stressful times, I like didn't once think about drinking through that. And that just comes with time. And man, if I can say anything, that time is your most valuable asset that you're going to have. And it's the only thing that you can't get back. You can earn back money, you can fix relationships, but you can't take back time. And if you're thinking about getting sober, if you feel like you've wasted time with substances, like, get sober now. I just told a friend earlier that like my only regret is that I didn't do it sooner. And she said, thank God our lives aren't determined by the sum of our mistakes. And I was like, you know what? Very well put. There is always time. Even if, you're in your 60s or you're in your 20s, like, now is the time. It's all like the time is always now for you to do it and get it together. And even if it were my last 3 years of life, I would be so thankful that I got to spend it productively and happily with everyone that I love, and taking in every moment, man. So thanks so much. I'm gonna wrap it up. 45 minutes in. I could go for hours on sobriety. I've even talked about doing just a sobriety podcast, honestly, because from what I can tell, not many of them exist. But yeah, I could go on and on for hours, and just much love to you guys. Much love to the YouTube people. Also, streaming service people, if you haven't checked out the YouTube videos of this and you just want something on the background, or you want to see me in my studio just stare off into space sometimes and think about everything and drink my bitter coffee, yeah, check it out. I'll be posting the YouTube links with the Spotify link on Tuesdays when this is released. Also, just want to let you know, guys, this podcast is available every Tuesday at midnight on Pacific Standard Time. So it's available. I just don't post about it until about noon, because that seems when Instagram and Facebook lets it reach the most people. So it is available and out if you follow or subscribe. If you subscribe on YouTube, it'll notify you. Hit the notification bells on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts and everywhere you listen to it, so that you just get notified in the morning that it's available, and you won't even have to search for it or look for it or click on the link or anything. Thanks so much for letting me share that with you. It has been a heck of a day celebrating today. Yesterday, technically, because the podcast is out on Tuesdays, but yeah, 3 years of sobriety. Just some insight on it, what I've learned, what I've struggled with, what I've succeeded at. Yeah. I mean, I'm here today doing this podcast, doing this YouTube video, because of it. So, love you guys. Subscribe, follow, share, put out the good word. Comment, DM me, talk to me about episodes. I'm an open book, man. I love talking with you guys. I love interacting with you guys, and it's great for the show. So, yeah, again, thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys next Tuesday. We'll have another big music episode, whether if it's with a guest or not, but that'll be a big music day, because I've got some feisty, fiery opinions. Peace out, guys. Stay metal. Love you guys. See you next Tuesday.